free to come in and enjoy and join us. If you have any questions, any technical difficulties, please put them in chat and all will be well. And we're going to wait just a second for the Twitch to go and I'll do the introductions. But thank you everyone so much for coming and joining us today. Twitch is live. We are live in Zoom. We're 1 minute in, and a couple of people have already gone in. No waiting rooms, all's good.
Sweet.
All righty. Let me start by saying welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our next installment of GameRT's Learn and Play. I am Danielle Costello. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the event programming co-chair for GameRT. I am also an instruction and research librarian for Louisiana State University, and today I'm here for tech and Q&A support. This event is being recorded. The recording will be available to GameRT members 6 months from being publicly available on the GameRT website. We're also live streaming the session on Twitch. Hello, everyone on Twitch. Thank you so much for coming and joining us today. Twitch on-demand video will also be accessible 6 months after this member-only period. If you aren't following GameRT already on Twitch, please give us a follow. We're building the channel. We're doing some amazing things over there with our partners. Links will be available soon in the chat for all our great places where you can find us. And if you're not previously familiar with GameRT, we are the Games and Gaming Roundtable of the American Library Association. Our mission is to promote games in libraries, whether that's programming, collection development, community building, prototyping, playtesting, or research. We've got you all covered. Today, GameRT has 2 professional development series, one of which is this Learn and Play, and we also have webinars, and those alternate each month. Today, we're doing a session on the Royal Game of Ur. More to come about that, but I want to first let you know about our upcoming events. If you'll progress the slide, please. So, first off, it is International Games Month. This is our month. This is our initiative run by volunteers from library organizations around the world to connect our communities to the libraries around educational, recreational, and the social value of all types of games. Please check out the International Games Month blog to see what everybody's doing around the world and all the cool things. There is a game jam going on, so if you like to create and invent games, that's going to be definitely something you'll want to check out. We also have happening tomorrow at 12 p.m. Central, our next session of Roundtable, which is our newest Twitch program where we bring together several librarians, get a chance to chat about games, libraries, games and libraries, and all the ways we can bring play into our spaces. This section is going to focus on grants and how we can use those to bring more games and gaming into our libraries. And finally, super excited, we're going to have a webinar December 12th on dice, zines, and pirate queens, queer horizons, and tabletop role-playing games. Thanks to virtual tables, online actual plays, and pop culture, Dungeons & Dragons is larger than life. In the midst of this newfound popularity, the reactionary, queer-phobic underbelly of the tabletop gaming hobby has reared its head as D&D wrestles with its own conservative legacy. Yet queer and trans designers are redefining tabletop play, from one-page micro games about gay pirates to deeply personal journaling games about the discomfort of one's body to games about becoming a lich to survive trans healthcare waitlist. Tabletop games represent a broad horizon of queer play and storytelling. In this talk, game scholar P.S. Berg will discuss tabletop role-playing games, TTRPGs, transness, the zine game design, and they'll examine the troubling histories and present realities of the TTRPG hobby and show how we might look beyond Dungeons & Dragons and learn from queer and trans TTRPG designers to change the games and indie spaces. And anyone looking for more information about TTRPGs can join us in GameRT RPG Guild and get more experience running RPGs. And I'll put links to all this good stuff below. So with that all said, let's get on today's presentation. There will be a Q&A at the end of the session. Questions you can add to chat, and during the presentation could potentially be missed, but I'll totally try and catch them and see if I can get them in there into our bring them to our wonderful hosts. So now please today welcome Regina Bouley Sweeten and Thomas Vose. Regina Bouley Sweeten is an archives and special collection librarian from Golden Library at Eastern New Mexico University. Other than knitting and spinning, she enjoys board games, tabletop RPGs, collecting more games through Steam sales, very relatable, than she can ever possible play. Thomas Vose is the past president of GamesRT, the director of the Ruth Enlow Library at Garrett County in Western Maryland, where he keeps himself and his patrons amused with games, zines, and books of all kinds. Thank you so much for presenting with us today. Regina and Thomas, I hand things over to you.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk to you today. And once again, we wanted to be able to plug International Games Month here, which is going on right this very month as we speak, and every November thereafter. And if you get a chance, you should go to games.ala.org and sign up yourself in your library and hold some sort of gaming program over the course of the month. That's all it takes. And whether it's an RPG, whether it's a board game like this one, or whether it's a video game session, the options are wide open. So I guess I get to jump off here with the history of the game. So yes, we are talking about the Royal Game of Ur, and it is one of the oldest games known to civilization, really. This is what you're looking at right here is a copy of it that was found. It's about 4,500 years old. And it was found in Ur, the city in Mesopotamia, by a team that took it to the British Museum, the famed repository of stolen goods. But as you can see, it's a beautiful sample of it. It is actually hollow. It's a box, and all the pieces went in the box, and so they managed to get it all out here, nice and orderly. And it's from about 2,500 BCE. And it's made of inlaid shells. Yeah, that's where all the shiny stuff is. It's shell. And it was found in the Royal Cemetery, which is why it's called the Royal Game of Ur. So if you'll move to the next slide here. This is the instruction manual. So hope everybody understands it now. It's a clay tablet. It was found in Babylon, and it's written in Akkadian. It's from 177 BCE, and it was written by a Babylonian astronomer. And a guy named Irvin Finkel at the British Museum, who he did a video going over it. He has the most epic beard you will ever see. And he translated it and pieced together the instructions that we're going to be following that makes up the basis of the game as we know it. Now, this is a very popular game, and it was for a very long time. The boards were found in Sri Lanka. Boards were found in Crete and the Mediterranean, so it got around. Now, the manual here that you see also indicates that the middle squares, as you'll see in a bit, were used for divination as well, the kind of, land on this square and your beer will be extra good in the future, variety. So that was kind of a neat twist to it. And also, of course, as with any game, gambling was a thing. So they had a mechanism where if you skip a rosette space, you would put a token in the pot, and the player who then landed on a rosette next would get all the tokens. And you'll see what the rosettes and all that mean when we explain it. But yeah, this game stuck around for a long time, and it kind of metamorphosized into other things, including modern backgammon. And there was a Jewish enclave in the Indian city of Kochi, where they were merchants, and they were playing this game as part of their culture up until the 20th century. So it has been around a long time. And as we play it, you'll see that there's a lot of similarities to modern games like obviously backgammon, but also things like Sorry is the first thing that I compared it to. So let's go ahead and move along then to Regina, who's going to tell us all about what we can do with it. And yes, and that is the version that the Jewish merchants in Kochi played. It's called Asha. So yes.
All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen real quick and just say, I'm just going to say a few things about like ideas that we thought of ways that this game could be incorporated into libraries. Obviously, this is not a conclusive list. If you have any great ideas, feel free to pop them into the chat. But when I first was looking at this game, I was playing, or we play it online today is how we'll demonstrate it. But let's say you really want a physical board. The lower end boards that I was seeing online be about $40, and you can get travel sets for around $20. The fancy British Museum reproduction of the first slide is 115 pounds. So if your library has that in their budget, go ahead. Yeah. But if you don't, I also have a handout that we put together that has some resources that have some printables and they'll have printable game boards, as well as some of them have printable pieces. And as we're going through, you'll see the dice are kind of interesting because they're 4-sided dice, but they're not like D4s that you'd see when you're playing D&D. They don't have numbers on the side. It's based on each corner, which is facing up is either black or white. So those dice may be a little hard to get a hold of, but you can do something like getting popsicle sticks and just like spray painting or painting one side white, one side black for positive or negative. And we're having little tokens that will be used in the online game that look like little coins with 5, kind of like on a 6-sided dice with the 5 pips, but it's like a little round thing. But you could just use like those little glass marbles that they have in like the bottom of fish tanks. So you don't have to have the $115 or pound board. You could use any of these printables, and one of the printables also has includes the little circles and little dice that you can cut out and fold to make the little triangle dice. And so if you were printing, and even if you had to buy the little pieces out of like the glass, like half marbles, and get the popsicle sticks, you could still have enough boards and have enough pieces to host a tournament for probably under $10. Because you can print it in black and white or color, and obviously color would make would be more expensive. But what if you printed it in black and white and everyone got to color their own board and make that part of the activity? You could also print like a poster size, because the board or the resources on the handout list is 8.5 by 11 sheets, but you can print it larger and then have like on tables. That way people can kind of gather around. And I also had the thought that you could conceivably draw this on sidewalk, the sidewalk chalk, and use oversized pieces for outdoor play. So maybe your library has like an outdoor event in the summer, and that could be something that as people are just walking by, you can invite them for a quick game, because we'll show you that this game is pretty quick. It could drag on, but even a game that drags on, it's not going to be like Monopoly. It's not going to be like, all right, I hope you committed to half your day here. So, you could have these printables. You could purchase your own. You could do outdoor chalk. And even if you did the printables and you laminated them, you could make little kits that people could check out from the library. And then if they lose a piece, it's fine. You can replace a single popsicle stick. You can replace a single marble. It's fine. So those are some of the ideas that we had as far as ways that you could incorporate it into your library.
And obviously, copyright's not a concern of something 4,500 years old. So there is that. That's a benefit.
Yes, if they come after you for copy, they're like, "This is our game." You'd be like, "Excuse me, shouldn't you be dead?"
Yeah. Well put. Well put. So I guess next we get to go over how to play it. So let's see here. Regina, would you like to share your screen or shall I?
You can go ahead.
Okay, so let me go ahead and pop this up here. 2 seconds. Dun, 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 dun. So this is the game. Now, as you can see, there is a online version, and you can actually play this with friends and remotely, like we're doing here. And sorry, I got to try to collapse my thing here. Don't mind me. And you can use this as the basis for an online tournament as well. You can do it locally, but in the meantime, we're going to play a game here and show you how it's done. Now, can everybody see my cursor? That showing up okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So you start here basically on either side. We got dark, we got light. And so the path that the pieces take is up this way, to over, down the middle, over again, and up and out. So it's a little like Sorry in that you have to get all your pieces from one spot off the board. Now, these spaces are safe on either side for either's team. The middle spaces, however, are not. And if you land on somebody's piece, it sends them back to the beginning, except for this space. These flower spaces are special. Like I said before, some of them were used for divination. But in the actual game, they're basically roll again and safe spaces. So a piece on here cannot be captured. And then again, as you move everybody off, you have to get the exact roll in order to get them off. One other thing worth mentioning too is since the dice are so different, one possibility that comes up every now and then is a 0. You know, you might roll and get no pips showing, which means you have a 0 move and can't do anything. So I thought that was a neat twist.
It's like, like, oh, I'm almost done.
Yeah.
I have a 0. My turn is forfeit.
So last time we played, it got real close. She was beating me pretty bad and then couldn't get that last roll. And so at the end, I managed to win, but we'll see how it goes this time. So am I forgetting anything in terms of rules?
You can't land on, so if there's a spot that someone else is on, that if they're safe, you can't land on it. But I think it's also worth noting that you can't land on a space that you already have occupied because you can't jump yourself.
That's right.
If you stack all your own pieces up and they're in your own way, you're gonna have to move some of them out of the way in order to keep going forward.
So there's all sorts of strategies and whatnot that I am completely unfamiliar with. But if you think back to, you know, thousands of years ago, people sitting down and playing this and gambling over it and taking these portable kits with them to play this with other folks, you know, it's just fascinating to think about the culture that, you know, lived like this and use this to entertain them, because, you know, we take for granted such things, you know, screens and everything these days that we have, you know, kind of ubiquitous around us and constant entertainment. But it's fun to think back about these earlier periods. And I think this could be a good basis, you know, not just this, but several other games as well, potentially. This could be a real good basis for like a screen-free Saturday, or, you know, Blast from the Past or something like that, that just kind of illustrates to people a little bit about what that was like for folks. Anyway, but I digress. I like to pontificate. So do we have any questions so far from the audience?
I see no questions so far. You guys are good to go.
All right, so let's go ahead and get some playing in, shall we? Now, I don't know if I am dark or light.
Well, I see the roll and it's highlighting as I'm going over it, so I think it's me.
Okay, go for
Yes, it is.
Hey.
And so something I really like about this game, or this website, is that it shows you, it has a dotted line to show you, hey, this is where the piece can go. And you can either click the piece or click where you want it to go, and it just takes it there. You don't have to move it step by step to get there. And I was telling Thomas, oh, there's the 0. Like, the first time I went to this website, I was like, let me try this out. And it was all going well and good, except I was really confused. I didn't understand the roll agains on the rosettes, but that's because when you first go to royalur.net, the opening screen has a place where you can view instructions, which I didn't do. All right, so there I got the roll again. So now I can roll again. And I can't move this. It's a piece. It looks like a little pip, but to me it looks like a Cookie Crisp cereal piece.
Yeah, they do.
So and I couldn't bring a new one in because I had the 2 blocked up, so I had to move that one, which is now vulnerable if you were to roll 4.
So, like I was saying, there's a lot of other games you could potentially tie into like a program along these lines. There's one called Senate, which may be even older. The rules for that one aren't as clear because they didn't have the nice handy dandy cuneiform tablet like this one does. But that one is still something that you can find and try to play. And there are some guesses as to what the rules are that you can take a look at. It's from ancient Egypt. So Senate's a neat one, and obviously backgammon is also very old. Chess is too, but not nearly as old. And chess is interesting too, because I don't know if you've ever noticed, but there are some variant rules of chess that come from the older version. I think that there is one version that has like another piece called the elephant. Yeah. And so
So a question from the Twitch chat.
Yeah.
So hello, GameRT from
hello.
4040. So you can't jump pieces? Question
You
mark.
cannot jump pieces, but you can land on somebody else's. So I just rolled a 4, which means I couldn't have gone here because it would have hit my own guy. Oh, I'm sorry. You can jump pieces. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, you can jump pieces. My bad. I thought you meant sorry. Yes, you can jump pieces.
You just can't jump your own pieces.
So all right, let's see here. So another one that I thought would be a fun thing to try, and I'm working with a group in my area with that, is doing something along like the lines of Victorian parlor games. There's a thing that we do in our county called Victorian Chautauqua. Oh, here, sorry to do this to you, but I have to illustrate the point, don't I?
Oh.
All right. I'm sure I'll get mine. But yes, Victorian Chautauqua, and their whole thing is they try to do a bunch of talks from like people impersonating speakers from Victorian times, like Frederick Douglass, and all sorts of really great talks. And so there's a lot of like daguerreotype photography things. And anyway, so I'm going to see if I can do something along the lines of Victorian parlor games, and we can play what they used to play back then. You know, and there were a lot of really great things to choose from. There's some really dumb stuff too. There's one called Are You There, Moriarty? Which is a weird one. Have you heard of that? So that one is oh, that's right. Now you'll notice I was going to capture this, but I can't because she's on the safe space. So I'll just have to settle
red line to say no.
Yeah. But Are You There, Moriarty is like, so two people are lying on the floor, holding hands, blindfolded, right? 0. And so you're holding hands blindfolded on the floor, and each of you has like a rolled up newspaper in your other hand. And one person says, "Are you there, Moriarty?" And the other one says, "Yes." And so then the one who asked, they have to kind of whack each other with the newspapers. So it's
Thomas,
a bit like
delighted that you brought this game up. I didn't know it exists, and now I need to play it immediately.
Yes, you do. I think we should do that. We should totally do that at ALA Play coming up.
You don't want to just whack people with newspapers and be like, Moriarty, and then run away. Like, what?
Or do you?
That would just be chaos.
So question from not the audience, but me, the host.
Yes.
How do you find this to be played with? Like what age grade do you think? Because it looks like I could probably play this with my nieces, and they're fairly young, because it's you know, dice and movement and pretty easy, like a step up from Mancala maybe for them. With the same kind of like strategy of like, okay, you're gonna want to think about what you want to do. But what age range would you put this at for your librarians and libraries?
Well, I would absolutely think so, because you don't even have to know numbers, really. You have to just be able to count the pips on the top of the dice.
You just have to count to 4. So like my daughter's upper elementary, I absolutely think she could play this. My nephew is 5. I'm not certain, like he could definitely try to play it. And that's kind of the thing, is he may not have the technique, but you know what? With the dice roll, maybe he might kick me off anyway and think I can't get off the board, and he wins still. So
yeah.
Ooh, that is a good question. In the kind of scale of strat to luck, like, is this a higher strat or higher luck game, or somewhere kind of in between?
Oh, that is a good question.
one thing I was looking at on this website where they had the instructions was talking about how statistically speaking, the most common roll is 2, just because you can have 0 through 4. So you don't want to have your piece land 2 in front of someone else's piece in this middle row, because it's more statistically likely to be kicked off. That said, like here I just got a 1 and I'm going to kick them off. So I think I don't know what, the statistical chances are between, dice roll and strategy, but
See, I got 2 and 2 2s in a row, so there you go.
Yeah. See, I'm sticking on that safe space in the middle because see, I just rolled 2. I can't get them yet, but he might be coming with this lower blue for my 1 at the bottom. So I'm going to move that out of the way onto the re-roll.
Oh, a question from the web Zoom chat. I
Yes.
missed it earlier. How long does this does an average game last? From Rebecca Strong.
Well, 20, 30 minutes.
I could say like 15 to 30. So like maybe 20 to 25 average. Kind of
Depends, because we're going back and forth here pretty good.
Yeah,
And
and like
so,
if we weren't, so whenever I play backgammon, my husband, if we're not trying to jump on each other's pieces, the game goes a lot quicker because you don't have to start all over again. But if you're like jump, 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 then it can draw it out a little bit. So it kind of also depends on how aggressive you are. Oh, let's see.
because you can see that these spaces here especially get real brutal.
I guess we
I'll take
should
it.
look to see what time we started this game. Then we would have had a good answer.
That would have been. We started about what, 4:20 thereabouts. So it hasn't been that long. So has anybody in the audience had a chance to do any fun programs with games that are similar to this? What have folks in the audience been doing? I mean, I automatically assume that everybody's a librarian, but that's not necessarily true. And what sorts of fun programs have you been doing?
I only have 1 rule. Here we go. All right, I had to leave my safe space, so don't jump on me.
Oh, yes. Let's see what happens.
You would have had to roll a 1 and a 4 to jump on me.
Well, at least that gets me a little space to make some progress. Wow, you got 2 people in your safe spot. Oh, wow.
Oh, from Rebecca Strong again. I don't run
Yes.
parlor or strategies specific chess, go, etc. programs. I do run other game stuff. So definitely being represented over there.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't think I've had a chance to do games yet, but me, Danielle at LSU, but I have had the chance to do trivia, which has been a delight. I think it's one of the like if this game is kind of an entry style game for RPGs or tabletop games, then trivia is an entry level for everything because it's like everybody knows a little about something.
Yep.
Yeah, when we had our trivia game attached to our Jack Williamson lectureship, and Jack Williamson, science fiction author, has this lectureship every spring, and people complained that either the questions are way too easy or way too hard, and it'll be the same people complaining about the questions. They'll say some of these questions are way too easy, some are way too hard. It's like, well, it depends on your fan experience.
True. So I actually, during the winter, when it's fall, whatever, basically started this last week, and I'm going to be doing it for a few months anyway. I do a program at our local pub, the Vagabond Tap Room, for the library, and it's kind of a partnership we do. And I do that, like I said, every other weekend on a Friday night, and it's trivia, and it's a lot of fun. And I try to tie in books. So I do categories, of course, and so for every category I bring a book on, and I get to do a little bit of a book talk on that. So
continuation from Rebecca. We just had our International Games Month event on Saturday and had 140 people. Whoo! For
dang.
board games, video games, and Pokemon. Well done, Rebecca.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is wonderful and amazing, and also a little
Yes,
bit
it is.
terrifying, but I love the chaos. And then
Ooh,
Amanda in
double.
chat says the game reminds them a lot of Parcheesi. We've had a few librarians brown bag lunch game times and have used games during undergraduate research night programs combining de-stress and reference info lit topics. Yes, that's actually a brilliant way to do these kinds of things because a lot of students now are super stressed in academia and they need a fun thing to do. Games provide like not only a fun de-stress chance, but a chance for us to get into showing like how you can research for a game. You can look up kind of different strategies. Those same research skills are fantastic for your research topic. Or we can just be like, we're just going to have fun and you need to join your gaming community and have a good time with your cohort.
Well, there's that. And there's also that, it's getting more and more to the point, I think, in academia and just generally that, research and and studies on gaming, no longer have to be, justified as much as they were. It's more self-evident that, learning about how societies entertain themselves and about strategies and that sort of thing and what people viewed as valuable in the entertainment world in their society it's more and more again self-evident that this isn't something that you have to justify as much. It's not some flippant thing.
Yeah, it's things that people with doctor in front of their name have the word theory after. So they're like, why are you playing your little game? And you're like, game theory.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, and Rebecca says play is essential and a valid end. It does not
Yes.
need be the means to something else. 100% agreed. All of us at the round table are here for just games themselves and no extra needs whatsoever. Oh, if we could play all day, every day.
But it's funny because at the beginning of my career, and I haven't been around that long, I don't think, but I, had to do several talks. I was invited to talk for a couple of other libraries to their friends groups to make the case for purchasing things like a Nintendo Wii, saying, hey, this is more than just gaming. It, provides a social function. It provides a safe place for kids to come and congregate. It helps expose them to new materials that the library offers. It reaches new audiences, all those arguments. And nowadays, I haven't had to do that in a very long time,
Yeah, I love the growth of the hobby into the mainstream and as a valid form of art, expression, joy, experience. And I think part of that's through the efforts of your good work and everybody that's, done the hard work of lifting up and showing like, hey, this is a wonderful thing. We should all enjoy it. So thank you and everybody that worked in previous GameRT iterations and all the people bringing games to our communities.
Well, for those of you though who do need it, over the years in GameRT, we've been compiling all sorts of good talking points for for library professionals like you who, want to make the case. And there's still folks out there, I'm sure, who, need the argument made. So if you go to our website, you can see all these talking points that we put together. So you can see we're getting a lot of them out here, but we've had, and yeah, I think that I'm in a bit of trouble here. That's right. You're on the safe spot.
Right, you'd think they've got so many pieces out. They must almost be done, but who knows?
Yeah.
I did have the idea also where I was like, what other, because, I mentioned you can like color in a board that you print off. I was like, well,
These are
what
beautiful
else could you
boards.
do? And I'm a fiber artist, so I'm thinking because I'm seeing these different pictures of the boards, and this one's based on that first picture, but there are different iterations. I'm like, you could cross stitch a board, you could embroider a board. You have a quilting guild. Everyone could do a square, and then you could attach it together. And so maybe you have, and I'm saying this as someone who's gone to the quilting nights at public library. Maybe you have older ladies in your quilting groups. I'm like the youngest and I still have gray hair. And maybe they make the board for the teens.
I mean, a layout like this lends itself well to quilting, that's for sure.
Because there are these two, like the two on either side, like blank spots, but you could just fill that in with like solid colors.
Yeah, or just or decorate the whole thing in like a cool like Sumerian motif.
Mhm.
Yay.
Oh, and Rebecca says, ooh, it's a very fun to have programs that design these boards and play them. And it would also be a fun project if your library does any outreach with senior living or community centers to make games as community gifts.
That's a good idea.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Especially since, I mean, again, these are games that have been around a while. You might have had people who played something similar back in their day and who, you know, might like to. The good thing about these sorts of games too is that they can easily be very intergenerational. It's real easy to get a mixed group together for board gaming nights generally, but also for things like this or chess. Chess is, an old standby, but people like chess. I suck at chess.
I mean, that could be something like, let's say your quilting group makes, the board, and, your teen group teaches your kids, the younger ones, who then go play on the boards with the seniors in the senior home.
Yeah.
And you can even combine community and university libraries. So if you have the game being played, you can bring in a historian to talk about the particular era in which this was made, or if they're a particular board game historian, go into the history of different games. I love the idea of cross collaboration and bringing in lots of different people to be able to share in the experience.
So another thing that's fun to think about is there's a lot of really great books these days that are being put out about games and gaming and the history thereof and all sorts of great stuff. Does anybody in the audience have any favorites that they've read recently or recommendations? I've got a couple of my own, but I'd like to hear from folks out there. So I'm always looking for something new to read, let's face it.
No
in the chat.
book recs just yet, but we do have from Amanda and Rebecca the idea that 3D printing and makerspace projects would be fantastic for this one as well. And yay, no copyrights.
Yeah, I wonder if this is already on Thingiverse. It's possible.
Well, that's a good question. I will be digging right now.
There you go.
I feel like the hardest thing to do, for as far as creating this, is the dice. But then, like I said, you can get popsicle sticks and just have one side or the other, or some other, one or the other.
Or vaguely triangular rocks.
Yeah. Or I mean, if it's just positive or negative, you just have to have them even. So you could have a D6, but if you're 3D printing it, have 3 positive and 3 negatives, or just 1 to 3 is nothing, 4 through 6 is 1. That can get a little weird because you're like, it's a 5. I got 5, a 6, a 3, and a 2, so I got 2. You can get a little mixed up there, but it's possible.
Well, realistically, too, I mean, if you look at the dice here, the two sides are colored and 2 sides are plain. And so you basically are at 50-50 for the odds. So you could just flip coins.
Yeah. I'm just picturing now, as I mentioned, I have a child in upper elementary, just picturing children with a bunch of coins. Which could be very fun if you have the oversized, like if you have like a foam
they'd love
thing outside. It had it was really great. Our middle school in town had like a trick-or-treating thing, or the high school, it was at the high school, and each room was a different thing, and they had games and different ones. And there was one where they had like inflatable dice that were like 2 feet wide, and so the kids got to like roll the giant inflatable dice. So of course my child kicked it, and then the teacher's like, whoa.
Did any of you folks have a oversized chess set that you got to play?
Oh, that would be amazing. I look at them and I drool all the time. It's like, how can I get this approved by my budget? Because this is beautiful and wonderful.
I had that. We had one in our middle school, and it was pretty great.
They're at KOAs, if you're going
Yeah.
like traveling and camping. But the problem I think for libraries would be like, then you have to store it somewhere.
Yeah.
Or if it's if it's an outdoor thing in our area, we're up on the high plains of eastern New Mexico, and sometimes the wind is 70 miles an hour. So
Mm.
maybe you don't have all your ponds because they got blown into Texas.
I was just
That
reading today about
seems-
the Llano Estacado. So
Mhm.
Seems like a very particular problem.
Sometimes you see trampolines blowing across. Someone's shed got flipped 180 degrees upside down with stuff inside.
yikes.
I didn't grow up here. It still weirds me out.
That's terrifying. But back in chat, links have been added for some recommendations, not for books, but cool stuff. Then Amanda says you can get plus and minus dice instead of using
you go.
D4s, or you can get D4s and dip the corners in fingernail polish.
That's another good idea. That's real
Oh.
clever.
And then we have other people who do have giant sets and not mega huge, only 8-inch pieces. Okay, so somewhat large, but not. No, I want human size. I want human size where I could ride the knight. That would be my dream.
That would be
just
great.
wants humans, just living chess set.
And that's
on the
funny
table.
because it was in middle school when I had ours. And so I think about it as real big, and it's probably up to my waist now.
I did see, I think I
Mhm.
can't remember if it was like a knitting or a quilting pattern. I might have been crochet. Someone had an Afghan size, like I think it might have been twin size blanket, but
Mhm.
they recreated it into a backgammon board, so you could, cozy up and then play backgammon with your giant pieces that you have to crochet, your little discs.
That's clever.
Oh, a delight.
The one book that I read recently was it was called 7 Games, and it was by Oliver Reader, Roeder, I think it is. And it's really cool because it talks about 7 games, obviously, and so the games are poker, Go, chess, checkers, backgammon, bridge, and Scrabble, I think. And it gets into like the history and the modern play, especially, what's going on with, the state of these games today. And one thing that it gets really into is automation and AI. And, so it looks at the state of where these games are with regard to AI, because several of them have been basically solved, is what they call it, where there is an optimal way of playing, and if you deviate from it, you will lose. And so it's kind of sad if you think about, but he also talks about, some of the ones that really haven't been solved, like bridge is one. And I think Go is one that I think like just had like one of its best players beaten, and it was like a super sad moment. So but things like checkers and backgammon, those are basically things that have been beaten in a way, and it's just an interesting book, and I highly recommend it.
That reminds me, what was the game that they played in Knives Out where the woman's like, oh, I win because I'm just trying to make pretty patterns.
Oh no, I didn't play Knives Out or watch Knives Out play.
Yeah, it's a metaphorical centerpiece of the movie, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like, well, sure, the game, the computer can beat you using logic, but what if you're not using logic? Haha. The AI is like, wait a minute, does not compute. But I mean, it probably just stopped you.
I'm gonna look up that because that sounds intriguing. But there's also an incredible moment in Crazy Rich Asians for the game of Mahjong.
Okay.
Where somebody describes like so it's kind of the spoilers, everyone. If you haven't watched this movie, this is actually really important and poignant moment where the main character is playing the potential mother-in-law, and they've been fighting for the entire movie, kind of back and forth about like different values and things. And the mother-in-law is like, oh, she thinks she wins, but really it's a moral victory from the other character. And if you knew how mahjong's played, like the moment becomes extra poignant because essentially the protagonist gave her the win. Like she did, like, and so it's well described in other pieces of media. Please, I'll send a link, but it's just like one of those things where it's like, I love that knowing this little tidbit about this ancient game gives you insight into the emotional state of a person. Like games are about emotion and about kind of not just playing for fun, but getting into the psyche of who we are as people. So I was like, oh, love it when they have a game in a movie.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, we have, you brought that up, and we actually have a mahjong group that meets at our library, and they did a class once, and that was really cool. I cannot for the life of me understand that game. I've tried. Between that class and which I was only able to see part of, and between playing Yakuza on the PlayStation 4, I tried to learn it, never was able to. But it's like backgammon, because I've learned that like 3 or 4 times, and for whatever reason, it just never sticks. And every single time I have to relearn the damn rules.
I think it helps if you've. Oh.
Sorry.
It's okay.
It always helps, I think, if you played since you were little. Like I understood fractions as a child because we played poker every Friday. Like as a family, it's like, okay, yes, I understand, like getting us, you go for this instead of this. Like I don't remember it now because it's been a long time since I've actually played for it, but it's like, oh, I'm gonna go for the flush and flush instead of the straight. Yeah. Inside straight is less likely than a flush. I'm going with that's what I remember. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, or if anybody ever sees this again. But it's one of those things that's like some of these things get embedded because you go and you play them so often. Learn memory. Yay.
Yeah, my husband learned how to count from playing dominoes with his family.
Oh, neat. Yeah, that's really cool. Wish I had a good game story like that, but oh well. Oops, I should have done the other thing. Oh well, hopefully that doesn't bite me in the butt.
Oh.
Pretty close.
Okay.
Coming down to the wire.
Actually. Okay, as long as I can roll a 1 before your pieces come off.
Oh, you did it. You got it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Good game.
Yes, indeed.
Well done.
These are hard-fought games. They really are.
Yeah, I was like, all right, I'm doing really good. I'm not going to say anything, though. And then I kept getting zeros, moves blocked.
One other book I was wanting to mention, there's a couple things, was they give you nice little fireworks here too. How nice. Another thing worth mentioning was let's see here, Slaying the Dragon, A Secret History of Dungeons and Dragons. I read that recently. It just came out. So and I like that a lot. Basically talks about TSR and how they started out as a idealistic company and kind of wound up screwing each other and falling apart, and now they're coming back as this weird zombie horrible people company. So but it's an interesting story, and I liked it was a good read. I'd also recommend anything on Bitmap Books if anybody's familiar with that. That's a really, really good resource. Does anybody have any of those? For the gamers out there?
Bitmap Books.
I will post a link in chat. Bitmap Books. I have several of these, and they're really great. And I ordered a couple for our library because they're just wonderful for video gamers, especially for they have a couple of ones about CRPGs, ones about JRPGs. One is about the one that came out recently. It's about the side-scrolling beat 'em ups, and it basically just catalogs the crap out of them, and it's very, very comprehensive. So I enjoy them immensely. So then they just have one coming out right now about the early days of first person shooters. So they're expensive though, but they're also very high quality. So
Nice.
anyway,
Want something that will actually last.
yeah.
I posted in chat. If anybody has any more questions, please let us know so that way we can get to them. And we still got about 9 minutes left. So our presenters are here at our mercy now that
We
they
are
finished their
indeed.
game. So if you want to talk about gaming in the libraries, Royal Game of Ur, any fantastic things, let us know.
We would love to hear what you folks have been doing for gaming in your library. Please tell us about it.
Yeah. And then Amanda said her don't know which one they're referring to, but are hooked on Uno, Crazy Eights, and Doze right now.
Yeah,
All excellent games.
I haven't played Dose yet.
Oh, Thomas, tell us about your treasure zines. You haven't told us about zines today, so let's go into it.
Oh, sure. Okay. Well, one thing I do, this is kind of a side thing, but so I make zines and we do I do one every month, right? And so a lot of times they have a theme, and this month's theme is treasure. And so I kind of wrote about real treasures that are out there and all that. And I was telling Regina the story of okay, so or I was telling you, Rebecca, about the Atari 2600. So have you heard this story before with Sword Quest?
Have not. Tell us a story,
Okay.
Thomas. Tell us a story.
So in the so Atari, of course, one of their first big games was Adventure. Adventure with the weird duck looking dragon, and it kind of gave rise to things like Zelda a little bit. But yeah, you basically walked around from screen to screen. Anyway, Adventure, big seller. So they did a follow-up. It was they wanted to do a suite of 4 games called Sword Quest. And so has anybody heard of this or played them at all on the Atari 2600? I know I'm old.
No, Thomas.
I know. I'm actually not that old. That was a little before my time, but not by much. So but so they came out with 4 games: Earth World, Fire World, Water World, and Air World. That's what they wanted to do. And they had a tie-in comic. It was so you've played this, Amy? All right. And so anyway, so they had a tie-in comic, and so it was kind of like this proto ARG thing, which was very ahead of its time in some ways. And so basically what happened was, you read the comics, you play the game. Between the two, you can piece together a code. It gives you a code. And then if you submit that code, you're entered into a drawing for prizes, real prizes. And they had put together 4 prizes here. They had the Talisman of Penultimate Truth, the Chalice of Light, the Crown of Life, and the Philosopher's Stone. And these were all real jewel-encrusted items worth $25,000 each. Yeah.
Oh,
And they had a grand prize called the Sword of Ultimate Sorcery, a real jewel-encrusted sword that was appraised at $50,000. So these were real things, and they gave away the first 2. And then the great video game crash happened, and Atari basically fell apart. But they had made all the prizes. So the question is, what happened to them? So there's some people think they probably got melted down. Some people think, they're in a box somewhere. But 2 of them were given out, maybe a third, it's unclear. But the 4th one, the Philosopher's Stone, nobody knows, and the sword, nobody knows. And so, and the 4th game, was supposed to be, again, it was Water World, Air World, Fire World, and Earth World. Air World got canceled because Atari fell apart. Never came out until this year, because Atari's doing this Atari 50 compilation. It's actually coming out like this month, I think. And they actually, for this compilation, are re-releasing as part of it all 3 of the original Sword Quest games, and they finished Air World and put it on there. So I don't think the prize still is out there, but you can actually see the completed Air World if you want.
That is brilliant and fantastic, and everything I love about games and inside and like Easter eggy kinds of things that just makes me happy to know that it exists.
I got one more that's kind of tangentially related to what we do here. So have any of you heard of The Secret, not the crappy self-help thing? Okay, The Secret from 1982, I'm sorry. It's a book by a guy named Byron Price. And so he wrote this book called The Secret, and you can find it out there. And in this book are 12 paintings that he commissioned. And each painting is paired with verses that he wrote. And between the painting and all the clues in that and the verses, there are clues to real world locations. And he buried in 12 spots all over the country in parks. He buried boxes with there it is in Wikipedia. He buried real jewels. They're worth about $1,000 each at the time. And so 3 have been found and 9 are still out there. And nobody knows where they are. I mean, the clues presumably will tell you, but nobody's figured it out yet. And he died and he didn't tell anybody about where they are. So nobody's gonna know until they're solved. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. Anyway,
To be an eccentric, wealthy person to leave intricate clues and commissioned paintings to have things all over the world.
I would like
it is
to
like
point
Ready Player
out
One, yes.
that GamersRT has a subcommittee called the Guild of Mysteries, where we do shenanigans like this at our conventions, from LibLearnX to annual, where we make puzzles and all kinds of cool stuff. So if you would like to join or want to just play the games, keep an eye out for, yes, geocaching, Rebecca,
Geocaching,
100%, we're into it. Just keep an eye out or join Games and Gaming RT. All the links have been added. I will continue to add them as well. I do want to give a shout out to Amy, who pulls 300 to 400 people like for around her state for gaming stuff. So huge clap
awesome.
out to that. That was a brilliant little factoid at the end. So thank you so much, Amy, for sharing that with us. And yeah, we're at the end of our session. So once again, we are the Games and Gaming Roundtable of the Library Association of America. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming, for learning about the Royal Game of for listening to us talk about older games, different puzzling shenanigans and experience. Thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you so much, Regina. If you'd like all of what we do, you can join us at Games and Gaming Roundtable, or you can just stay tuned to our Twitch and other channels and listen as we talk more and more about games and all the ways we can bring our communities together through play. Alrighty, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you so very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.